Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you my ham dinner with my ham, of course, and au gratin potatoes. And I don't know that I'll use all of these potatoes. It's usually about 2 big potatoes, but 2 of these are kind of small, so we'll see. And I've got 3 different cheeses that go into the au gratin. And all of this will be gluten-free, of course. So first thing I'm going to do for my potatoes, actually, the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325. If you're just doing a ham, you would go a little bit lower and for a little bit longer. But because I'm going to be doing my potatoes and ham at the same time, and the potatoes, if you're doing them just by themselves, they would go for about 350. Because I'm doing them both at the same time, I'm splitting the difference between the oven of 275 and 350, which I figure is about 325. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that has recently come over and subscribed, everybody that is recently following me on Instagram. Thank you to all of you, or whoever of you are spreading the word about my channel. It's really helping me to grow. And I really enjoy doing this, and I'm trying to reach as many people as I can. Even if you're not gluten-free, you can still enjoy most of what I make. But I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that is supporting me. I still am working on my cookbook. It's not coming along as fast as I would like it to, but it is coming along. Very soon it will be ready. So stay tuned for that. And let's get started with our potatoes. So right here I've got 2 cups. It's 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of whole milk. And I'm just going to pour that into my saucepan here. And if you don't have a mandolin to slice your potatoes, you can just slice them with a knife. But I have a little mandolin here. It actually came with this bowl, and it kind of sits right in there, and then the little guard, and then you can just go like this. I'll try to find a link for this to put below. Some of the things that I have, I can't find a link for, but I'll do my best. So I've got my 3 potatoes, and I just have a knife. Sometimes there's little spots on here that you might want to cut off, and I've got a couple right here. Then I don't have to worry about once I'm slicing. And you could do this with whatever potato that you like. But these are just russet brown potatoes. And I know sometimes people don't like to use the guard. And I usually don't use it till I get down to a smallish piece. It's kind of hard to manage with a really big potato. But be very careful. And I just want to show you pretty thin slices. Not quite see-through, but it's handy that they just go right into this bowl. So I'm just going to keep going with all of my potatoes. And now I'm getting down to the small enough part that I'm going to use my guard. But before I finish my potato, I'm going to turn on my milk and my heavy cream to about medium high. I want that to come up to a simmer. There we go. All of my potatoes are sliced. I have a 2-quart casserole dish here that I have greased. You can grease it with butter or bacon grease, whatever you want. So I've got about 6 ounces of crumbled blue cheese right here. This was an 8-ounce brick of Swiss cheese, and I've just grated that. I've noticed if you buy the pre-shredded cheese, it doesn't melt as nicely as when you get the brick and grate it yourself. And then I've also got about 6 ounces of shredded Parmesan cheese, which I did not shred this myself. I bought it this way. But they're in really big slices. You could do a finer shred, but I really like these big chunks of the Parmesan cheese in this recipe. So those are ready. I've got, about 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of pepper. I don't know that I'll use all of this salt and pepper, but that's ready. My oven's ready. And I've got some nutmeg here that once our milk and cream are simmering, I'll pour this in there. So this is about a 10-pound ham. It's already fully cooked and pre-sliced, a spiral ham. And sometimes they come with their own package of glaze. But I'm going to show you my own glaze today. After we get all of this in the oven, I'll show you the glaze for this ham. But right now, it's just in this pan. I'm going to cover it with foil and get it ready for the oven. And while the milk and the cream are coming up to a simmer, I'm going to start layering in my potatoes. You could also use garlic and onions if you want to, and thinly slice and spread those and layer those too. But today it's just potatoes. And I have this on a foil lined cookie sheet. If you've ever had a potato casserole boil over, it makes a big mess. So I'm just going to start layering in my potatoes. You can overlap them a little bit, but get a pretty good solid base layer going. And I didn't peel my potatoes, but you could. If you don't like the skins on your potatoes, you can peel them first. And once you get your first layer of potatoes down, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper on top. My milk and cream are simmering. I'm going to turn off the heat and stir in my nutmeg. And I'm going to move that off of the burner so it doesn't keep simmering. And now that we've got our first layer of potatoes, I'm going to start layering in my cheese. There's my blue cheese, a layer of Swiss cheese, and some of our very big pieces of Parmesan cheese. And then just keep going with your potatoes. And it's okay if your potatoes turn a little bit brown. That's fine. I'm actually doing a little bit more than just one layer of potatoes, just because they are very thin. A little more salt and pepper. And repeat with our blue cheese and Swiss cheese. Parmesan again. And keep going with your potatoes. The last of our blue cheese. And I'm going to save a little bit of that Swiss for the top. And I'll save a little bit of my Parmesan for the very top as well. And I'm going to do one final layer of potatoes. Salt and pepper. The last of our Swiss cheese. And it's okay if it doesn't completely cover. And the rest of our Parmesan. If you have a different kind of cheese that you like more than one of these, you could use that. You don't have to use these three cheeses. It's just the combination that I like. And once you've got your final layer of cheese on, I'm going to give our heavy cream and milk and that nutmeg a good stir. You can see it's still steaming. And I'm going to slowly pour this on top. Be careful not to splash. If you made a mess like I did, I'm just going to clean up the handle here a little bit where I splashed some of my milk and cream mixture out. So this is ready to go in the oven. My ham is ready to go in the oven. I'll check them both at about an hour, but they'll go for about an hour and a half or so. And while these are in the oven, I'll show you the glaze for the ham. So my ham and my potatoes have been in the oven for about an hour. And I'm going to make the glaze now. So I just have a little saucepan here. And I have 2 oranges. And we want about a half a cup of orange juice. So we'll see. If it's a little bit more or a little bit less than a half a cup, it'll be fine. So So the juice of 2 oranges, I'm just gonna strain, just in case there's any little seeds in there. So to my orange juice, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of maple syrup, 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar, 1/4 cup of really grainy whole grain mustard. If you can't find the whole grain mustard or you don't like it, you could just use a Dijon mustard. And then I have 1 tablespoon of honey and a teaspoon of molasses. And you don't have to put this in, but this is where you would put in about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I have 1 teaspoon of this liquid amino. I've talked about this before too. It's kind of the equivalent of soy sauce, but it's really salty. So just 1 teaspoon of this. If you were using a gluten-free soy sauce, it would be about 1 tablespoon. And then just 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And then just gently mix this together so it doesn't slosh around. Mix up that mustard a little bit. So I turn that on about medium-high heat. I want it to come up to a simmer. Now that my mixture has come up to a simmer, I'm going to turn the heat down to about low and just let this simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. Once the glaze has reduced by about half, turn the heat off. And get your ham out of the oven. And pour your glaze on. And it's not a super thick glaze, but enough to coat your meat pretty good. So cover it back up with foil, and it will go back into the oven for about another 30 minutes. And if you notice your potatoes are getting too dark without a cover on them, you can cover those with foil too. But mine are looking good. My ham has about 15 minutes left in the oven. I'm going to get my broccoli ready. And I've got about 2 tablespoons of butter here. I have about 2 large cloves of garlic cut up over here. And a nice bunch of broccoli. 1 lemon that is juiced, salt and pepper, and about 1/2 cup of water. I'm actually going to pour my lemon juice into my water. Strain out any seeds. And I've got this on about medium-high. Once your butter is nice and melted and hot, add in your garlic and just stir this around. We don't want it to get brown, just lightly warmed up a little bit. And once that's smelling really garlicky, I'm going to add in my broccoli and just toss this around in the garlic and the butter. I'm going to add in some salt and pepper and give this a good stir. And then pour in our 1/2 cup of water and our lemon. Just let this come up to a gentle simmer and keep an eye on your broccoli so it doesn't get overcooked. And by the time that's finished, our ham will be ready. For about the last 5 minutes of baking, I'm going to take the foil off of my ham. And my potatoes didn't really splatter, so that was really good. So you want those to rest for about 5 minutes before we spoon into them. just to let the liquid set up a little bit. It's still bubbling down here. And I'm just going to cut into it. And now we'll serve up some of these potatoes. It looks really good. Use my big knife. Although you don't really need a knife for this ham. That glaze is perfect. It's a little bit tart from the apple cider vinegar, but not overly sweet. And with the juices in here, with the parts of the glaze and the ham juices, you could make a gravy if you wanted to. Let's try my cheesy potatoes. The perfect au gratin potatoes. And now my broccoli. It's surprising how much just a little bit of garlic and lemon juice brighten up your broccoli, but pretty good. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.